How do you even approach picks and bans against Griffin after game 1 of this series? Good luck, I say, to Coach H-Dragon, Coach Han from Jin Air Green Wings. Pick and ban starts now. Like you mentioned, Jin Air on the blue side. They don't want Chovy to play Aurelia, and again, after Kesma Cup Final, I think they're going to have plenty of people right next to them not wanting to see Chovy on Aurelia.
Would have to agree. Don't feed him that pick. And no, I don't think we're going to have an Evelyn ban, a Vladimir ban. There are just too many good picks. You can't really target ban right now. We haven't seen too much target banning here, especially in the first phase of bans so far for week 1.
I feel like Cassiopeia is going to be left open for Griffin, so I wonder what if Jin Air will ban it on blue side. We'll see if we get that confirmation, though. So far, it's Aatrox banned by Griffin. They haven't really had too much rhyme and rhythm. They were pretty conservative in their bans previously with things like Urgot on the blue side and Aurelia Akali in the first series, and they're just going to be jerks and ban away Stitch's famous pick. He is a god-tier Kalista player, and it gets banned. That is really rude.
It is. I mean, why ban Lucian? Just ban the Kalista. You don't want to let Stitch have a game where all of a sudden a dive goes wrong and he's just carrying on his big pick. That's not really the feel you would like after game number 1. And no more Rakan.
Oh, and it has to be a blue side ban as well. That feels pretty heavy, given that Nova would love to be playing that in this game. Wonder what they're setting up for a first pick on. The Urgot could definitely be considered. Sion is available. Lucian or Cassiopeia if Griffin bans neither. And of course, like I mentioned, they were never going to ban Cassiopeia. So Lucian or Cassiopeia is Jin Air's choice.
I'd take the Cassiopeia if it were me. I mean, maybe not for Stitch. Don't even know if he has the practice on that champion.
So do you have any bucket list champions you want to see played? I asked for Heimerdinger, because Heimerdinger has never won in LCK history. The other one will be Garen, because Garen has never been played in LCK history. The only champion to never be played, I guess next to Nico technically, but Nico, of course, is still very, very new on the block. So Garen Heimer is where I'm at in terms of
Garen Heimer. That's a new champion.
Yes, it is. Sounds very scary, a bit German, but hello. It does.
Yes,
it does.
It does.
And Urgot seems like the much more standard. I guess later in the draft, the fun comes. Or maybe Lehens is the only one who's allowed to play fun champions. Lucian is ripped away. So no Lucian Cassio. For how the hell did they get those two champions on the same side? And just a power draw so far from Griffin.
And what will Jin Air respond with here? Kind of a rough lane whenever you're going up against the Lucian. We've seen multiple different choices, but they might not even go for that bottom lane just yet. They're going to pick up Sion, a very obvious, strong tier list pick. Oftentimes on the opposite side of the Urgot.
First round support, usually what we see. If you want a Tom Kench, now would be the time to take it. Could potentially be banned later. First round support, this would be a lot riskier, and maybe it would be a Cassiopeia Alistar duo lane potentially coming out. It's going to be a first round Alistar with only Rakan Thresh off the board. So no interest in Tom Kench on the side of Jin Air. How about some more Ornn? Because they see an Alistar, that means they can play Ornn.
Yeah, you know, no brawl. How about a flex Alistar into the jungle? Let's do it, Jin Air.
And I guess it's sort of a flex on the Ornn, but again, Ornn top sucks now, so it's going to be Ornn support.
How about Ornn jungle?
Ornn jungle, which
Shout
is
out to
a
LS.
famous favorite of LS. It's fine. Ornn mid, if your Fly was played a lot with the shield. I guess it's also a bit crappy now with the change on W, but it's okay. But probably going to be Ornn support most likely. Banning away the Zoe here, old pick of Grace. I wonder if you just ban the LeBlanc and say no more potent tools for you in the mid lane.
Well, he played the Victor in game number 1. I wouldn't really say it was his fault in that game either. Just kind of the game flew away from the side of Jin Air. Didn't look that bad. Was just clearing, farming in the mid lane.
Really hard to have too much insight into the Griffin bans on Jin Air because what do you ban? You can say the same thing about Jin Air against Griffin. So waiting to see what Griffin decide on here. Sorry guys, the Prophet is on holiday for a bit when it comes to guessing things. And oh yeah, just don't ban. That's cool too. It could be a mistake. We're not sure. There was some issues with lock-ins on picks and bans in the LEC last night.
CV Max not giving anything away. I thought I saw for a second a small, sly smirk, but
I'm assuming this
either
is not
way.
BM, especially if Jin Air don't ban. Regardless, I guess we have no insight, so we'll go with playing out the draft. Second jungler taken away from Griffin, but we know that Tarzan seems ready to play anything. I think it's time for the Rumble, to be honest. I would love to see the Rumble jungle in this game. You seem upset about Smeb's Rumble still, but
yeah, just,
Rumble jungle's different, Valdez. They're gonna play a team fight comp.
How did Galio last for this long?
Because they banned Nothing, Zoe, and Callista.
Ah, yes, I see.
Thank you, sir. I will now leave the stage, is what Valdez says. Jin Air in the madness. Probably Cassiopeia, Alistair, but they're not forced to do that. And Cassio farming against Galio is a scaling matchup for mid lane, if that is to be the mid lane choice. I know you prefer that one in solo queue, Valdez, when you see an enemy Galio. So Tristana, old pick for Stitch, not quite, again, as happy as the Callista in terms of Stitch picks, but he will be going for the Season 2 favorite of Alistair Tristana. Duo lane can potentially all in onto Lucian X, which is what we believe, Lucian Ornn, I should say, on the side of Griffin. Jin Air will have to blind pick a jungle after all. And Camille would be a lot of ganking power, but Tarzan has shown that against Camille he can make Sejuani work. His game against Canyon was a huge highlight in the Kesper Cup semifinal.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a jungle read that goes down in history. If you guys didn't see that one, definitely check that out, where Tarzan just kind of looked like 600 IQ in a way. But what will it be for Tarzan? Looks like it will be the Blob. Zachary here is going to be the choice. See how he does on this one.
So this comp is, all right, Cassiopeia, we hate you the most. This is the Cassiopeia comp that lets you get through some of your lost scrims against Cassiopeia. You give them Cassiopeia, and then every champion on Griffin's side, outside of Lucian, is going to dash on top from a long range. Not so much for Urgot, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Basically, Zac, Ornn ultimate, and Galio swoop in, and Cassiopeia as a mid-range mage is going to have literally no time to do anything in team fights. It's not quite Vlad Wombo, but it would do a great impression.
I actually don't know, honestly, the interaction between the Petrifying Gaze and the Zac hopping in.
You can, I believe...
Can you stop yourself from getting knocked up? Like, can you stop him mid-flight?
I believe yes, but not the ultimate because you're untargetable.
Yeah.
I believe for E, the answer is yes, Valdez. But maybe we'll get a confirmation on that in this game. Jin Air have a very strong ganking jungler, and Malrung, who's been in pretty good form in spite of the 0-3 scoreline, and some strong lanes to gank. So this one on paper seems like an uphill struggle, but I do like some of the tools they have to try to fight. Tarzan's gone for the scaling jungler. He's definitely gone for a skirmishing disadvantage, but he made us a believer of the Sejuani before Sejuani rework. Can he make the Zac into some sort of apex predator rather than the usual invaded upon jungler that we usually see?
Just another jungle champ for Tarzan. We'll see how he brings it in to game number 2 up against Jin Air. Here we are in game 2. We did get the update, by the way, that Griffin mistakenly did not ban in the second round there.
So whoopsie then.
Yes.
All right, confirmed whoopsie from Griffin, first of the season.
We haven't had many of those.
Actually, second of the season. The death on the Vladimir was also a whoopsie.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, not too many Griffin whoopsies.
Well, that was kind of just like a Poggers play, to be honest. It was, it's hard to get that read, but the pros sometimes can wow us.
We're enjoying the orange support. We didn't get to see the fruits of his labor in the late game because we didn't get to the late game to see the level 14 onwards 1,000 gold donations to your allies. Finally, a caster can say Frozen Fist and be correct, Valdez. People say it by mistake all the time because Iceborne Gauntlet, before it actually hit the Rift, was in the PBE known as Frozen Fist. Now, the upgraded Iceborne Gauntlet is in fact a Frozen Fist, so I would like to be the first person to call that correctly.
Only beta League of Legends players get the joke. Or I guess it's not a joke, but you know what I'm saying. Yes, the reference.
I want to say only 2014 kids will get this, but I'm not actually 100% clear when Iceborne Gauntlet was released.
Yeah, it's the year that's the question.
I feel like Season 4, but again, happy to be corrected. Thank you very much to everyone who confirmed that Bengi was the most recent Evelyn winner, but that was in summer 2015. So, was my first split I was in. Seems like there's a quick leash going on here. Viper and Lehens know, obviously with the wave ward being cleared, but the moment you see them coming in, very likely Camille to be bot side, so that's why they start to walk back. And no real information apart from an expected top side start by Tarzan available tomorrow.
You were talking about the Cassiopeia versus Galio matchup a little bit. Just a little taste of it there, especially level 2 is where you can really get on top of that Galio. Even if he does Justice Punch, if you land your poison, you have that extra speed boost, so you can generally close the gap and land a couple of those E's, those Twin Fangs, and do a bit of damage.
So this route we're seeing from Tarzan is actually pretty reminiscent of the route we saw from Canyon's Kha'Zix in a bad jungle matchup. I feel like he tried to dip into his wolf camp, and that's kind of the greed there. Because if you saw Canyon, he went Raptor start into red into Krugs for a quick level 3. As Marang says, that's my scuttle, thank you very much.
I like how Camille kind of just marches through as well.
I mean, she's definitely running the rift when it comes to what camps are being taken. The introduction of taking the wolves and then going elsewhere, as the confirmation is now there. Both junglers are 100% sure about the enemy, and this is very aggressive.
He gets the smite and he gets level 3. Tarzan not backing away, though. Trying to get on top
He's
of
level
this.
3 as well.
He wants to fight this. Funnily enough, Chovy, nice little gank there. Tarzan maybe biting up off a little bit more than he could do, but now he's going onto Linderong here, forcing that flash away as Linderong himself has to blow a flash.
In the 2v2, Urgot Zac got more summoners than Linderong and Malrong could on Sion Camille. So the overstay does indeed pay dividends. Tarzan staying in the lane, not sure if he was spotted entering that bush. Here we go.
Here's that Ornn getting on top of Stitch, forcing a flash out of a Tristana.
For free,
well,
because he has the unsealed spellbook, and we'll get another summoner in 2 minutes. So happy to trade up there. You feel really good about getting the flash out of Tristana for basically free. Nice stuff from Lehens, and yeah, if you get brush control as an Ornn, the E knock-up still going to be pretty potent in these lane trades.
The more I watch this Ornn support, the more I like it.
Oh, it's actually good. Like, I'm not being... You're also able to get super fast GP10 because you just buy a rejuve bead, and then you finish off the relic into Targon, so he gets the GP10 going nice and early.
You never have to leave lane. You have that lane presence unless you get really low. Seems like it's especially good against melee supports. Not sure how it would do against something that has a little bit more pressure.
Oh man, would it suck against Karma. That sounds really bad.
Yeah.
Against, yes, range supports, obviously not as much fun. And remember, it was an answer. They didn't have to ban the Braum this time because it was an Alistar first round, which already was kind of weird because Alistar right now is very much a sometimes support rather than a staple of the meta. The Ornn itself, the lane trades, again, the fact that you don't have the shield is not as consequential when you're against a melee support where you're going to get very reliable use out of the Ornn Unstoppable against Alistar, against Taric, who we saw in game number 1. So in many ways you like it, and then selfishly, your team gets 5,000 gold worth of stats in the late game for free, which gives you basically a late game scaling support. That's pretty cool.
Definitely liking the pick. The more I look at it, we'll have to see how it does if we do get into a more balanced and even game. As game number 1 wasn't really much of a contest here. It was kind of just Griffin bullying Jinair.
Definitely more of a fan of the Ornn than the Lissandra support that other Korean solo queue players were trying. W Max Lissandra support does obviously have CC, but I'm a skeptic to it on an AP scaler. Seeing a lot of shadowing on the bot side. Tarzan within Elastic Slingshot range right now, but Marang doesn't know that.
Always seems to be in the right position at the right time, does Tarzan. Just looked like he was hanging around for potential gank, especially with no flash on Stitch, but you can buffer that rocket jump. Try to get out of that anyway, and at the same time, Malrong was coming down, so he was in position, was just recalling just in case any gank did come in.
Most melee supports are a slave to their back timings, if you think about it. Alistair, for example, Blitzcrank, for different reasons, you really want to go back. Either get your income going or get your Moby Boots for roaming. So just the fact that Lehens has Unstoppable and now an extra 300 health over his opponent from upgrading a couple of times is not a trivial thing. It somehow feels like one of the least risky melee supports in the bot lane. My favorite orange support was Mata, until we now see Lehens play it, as Deft and Mata love to play the Bruise Bros, as we called them, the Mordekaiser-Ornn duo. Maybe we'll see a return of that. Everyone's talking about the boosting duo of the Mordekaiser-Leona for solo queue fun. No solo queue fun this game from Griffin after 2 games of Elise and Orange support, and Evelyn as well. Definitely a bit more square in their draft this time out.
Nova, good roam timing so far. Nearly catches Chovy there, and he did not have flash, so that could have been a potential kill, especially with the miasma and the follow-up of Malrong if Chovy just overstepped his boundaries even a little bit. But at the end of it all, with the back timing here of Viper, looks like Jin Air able to group up and get an Ocean Drake, which is actually very nice, especially for that Cassiopeia for mid.
Well, CS lead in bot, and yes, I agree. High value on the pickup of the Ocean Drake this game. Not quite an Ezreal bot, but you'll take anything that helps the Tristana get through lane. Tristana saw some few small buffs over time with all the AD carry upticks. No crit item changes live, of course, on patch 9.1, but we still are in parity to what you're playing at home. Farming continues, and Grace's future problems of very annoying long-range engage champions are not so much a problem when it's still very much the early laning phase.
Yeah, having a fun one in this one. Take a look at some items. Generally see the Chilling Smite on the Zac. It looks like Red Smite here, Challenging Smite by Tarzan. We saw that he wasn't willing to back down against the Camille up in the top side, knowing that he did have the priority from the Urgot to get there first, was trying to bait him into a fight with that passive. But Red Smite is quite interesting, just in case he does get forced into fights, or if he wants that extra bit of damage, I suppose.
Don't really know what to read upon it. I guess you have Elastic Slingshot, and then you don't need any more CC, but I would have expected just the Blue Smite. Auto attacks can always do a little bit of damage in fights. Speaking of Tarzan, waiting for his Elastic Slingshot cooldown. It's available now. They don't know about Malrong. All right, information advantage. Tarzan, what did Griffin make of this?
Well, it feels like Jin Air. Well, okay, here we go. Call the Forge God. They want the Alistair. He's not level 6 yet. And oh boy, the flash on in. Let's bounce. They're going to get the cow. First blood goes over to Zac. Following up here is Malrong, but the TP comes in. Nice amount of damage comes in from Stitch just to make things interesting. But the TP saves them. It makes them back off, and only 1 kill will come from the fight.
Cassiopeia was already on the roam. We'll see if she actually tries to interrupt the Gargoyle. The answer is no to that. She's going to go try to push the wave. Lens didn't have his W off cooldown to actually make it out on the back end, so probably smart to invest a teleport there as he was not in range of the hero's entrance. A more meaningful cooldown than the Galio ultimate, but we'll have that potentially still for proactive plays, and no TP to get back to lane. You called this out very early. Target selection here is level 5 Alistair is the way you go. Notice that he understands the cone there perfectly. On the Let's Bounce, and Tarzan says, well, I have 3 MVPs. 4 would be nice.
He's looking to make a name for that potential MVP, as now he's looking for Linderong. He is going to go unstoppable here.
Did you notice how long the stretch arms were because of the Scion?
Yeah.
That might be the longest queue we've seen so far in the LCK. Amusing interaction there. I don't actually have this written down, and I don't have anyone to ping, but I do believe no player has ever won 4 MVPs in a row when it comes to opening the season especially. Don't think the first 4 games have been won 2-0, 2-0, and the same person winning MVP. So that would be somewhat of a record there for Tarzan.
Well, a lot of people have this guy as the #1 for MVPs. I know the LCK Discord channel like to shout them out. Don't have the link offhand, but they have a little prediction thing going where a lot of people have Tarzan at #1 and Teddy at #2, understandably.
You know, There aren't many lists that I couldn't at least jive with Tarzan being #1 on. I'll leave that to your interpretation, but he is he's really good at that League of Legends game and in fantastic form as well. Not rank 1 solo queue, so that's one thing right now that avoids him. Stitch himself doesn't have a lot of lane control. It really feels like Griffin have the Camille when you start looking at CS numbers, because they are up in CS despite having the Zac jungle, and usually we've seen many, many games in the past, Valdez, where the team with the Zac jungle has to protect him, and Stitch is getting cold.
Yep, pops him back. Says, no thank you. I don't want what you're selling, and Viper sells him a little bit more under turret, especially after getting that plating. 160 gold goes straight to the Lucian, who's been having a fun time down there. Most farm in the game, and should have the most gold with the turret plating as well.
You really, really want to invade the Zac for 2 reasons. One is because he's defenseless. He uses his clearing tool in order to get between camps, so you can catch him. He has no escape most of the time, especially pre-6. And also because if you don't have vision of where the Zac is, the threat range is huge. Speaking of long threat range, how about Ornalt first?
Well, this time he is level 6, and Tarzan, he interrupts that jump, and down you will go. Let's bounce right into the gargoyle as the heroic entrance does follow up. That's going to be 1, 2, 3. Can it be 3, though? No. Actually, Sion. Oh! What the hell? As he gets away. That was very scary, but he does make it out with his life.
Now that was a wombo, Valdez. I have just the song to use in the replay when we get to it, but as we go back, wombo on point. Jeanette trying to at least get some turret plates, at least when you're getting roamed upon as Cassiopeia. You can afford to get some turret plates, but you know there's going to be more plates available. Plates of food, everything, plates of gold. All the plates go into the side of Griffin, and
They're
maybe even an answering Ocean Drake. Yes, that's another way to look at it, Valdez.
Yes. They have a lot on their plate in terms of, you would think, the pressure of a team that's #1 on pretty much everybody's list. Maybe SKT at #1 for some people, but it doesn't really feel like they're playing that way, you know? I said they would be the team that has the pressure, and Jin Air would be the one without it, but it feels like the opposite as we watch this game.
And while you can go for the scaling Cassiopeia pick, notice no Comet could be taken because of all the threat. It is going to be the phase rush on Cassio for team fights. And as this happened, as we saw the Zac and Galio come in, all I could think of was the 1-1 theme. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do, because the Goomba Stomp is so real. Watch the Mario brother come in. Mario gets his squish, doesn't get the kill, but gets the overall involvement in the Alistair. And then watch the last bit here with the ult. Oh!
Well, lots of stretching going on with Linderong showing off his ultimate prowess. Knows how to get away from ganks.
Stitch has decided he'll just leave lane now. Not interested in bot lane anymore, and the lane swap obviously happens because of the TP. That will soon be up for Linderong. Trying to find safety on the map. Why is there 5,000 gold lead? I guess it's just Griffin things. 3 kills, 5,000 gold. All of the turret plates are mostly stacked on the side of Griffin as well. More gold in the game. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Cassiopeia, bless her heart, has phase rush and has been able to farm. But just like we saw with Kalista in our first series, really, really hard to outplay as Cassiopeia this game. They kind of picked all the champions that ruin her day.
You have to be very passive, but that's not what you want to be if you're Cassiopeia. You want to be weaving in your abilities and trying to poison people down and, you know, getting that good positioning on miasma. But if you can't even position yourself to save your life, then you're not going to have a fun time.
What Jeanette does have is really good Baron damage and Baron turn, but they don't have any map control right now. Of course, Baron is a later thing. If they could find a team fight win and make this game around Baron, yes, you're going to have to disengage, a lot of hard engage on the side of Griffin, but you can see a game where they get wards on all the red side camps, they go around Baron, they bait once or twice, and then Cassiopeia and Stana just take down the Purple Worm. That feels like a different game, as here comes Tarzan.
Trying to make Stitch's life so hard. You're not rocking jumping out of that one. He is going to get knocked up. He does survive, but Toby says, nuh-uh. You're not going to survive on my watch. Nova eventually does go down. Can Grace get a kill is the question. How about a stopwatch, says Lehens, as he is going to survive on the backside.
Hey, Sword, so that's not your side. That's the enemy team.
Just passing through, just passing by, as unintentional BM seems to be the name of the game here from Griffin.
Are there ever really whoopsies with Griffin? Hard to know. The Lucian funnel definitely was one of those.
Is always the one we mentioned.
That's the only one they're not allowed to do. Thanks, Riot Games. Why did you buff Griffin with the Monster Hunter debuff? We know that Griffin don't play Monster Hunter. They play Super Mario Brothers. Based on this particular game, Viper and Lehens pushing the top side. Map control is now maybe Wolves and Raptors. Krugs, if no one too strong, is bot side. Apart from that, not too much map control for the side of Jinair. They back away with some gold in their purses. The gold lead a little bit bigger. Gonna watch the replay here. Before there was a Poke Rap, there was actually the Super Mario, which is a really cool rap song played on the TV version, the Super Mario Brothers show. I'd love to sing that now, but I don't remember the words. It's playing in my head. You can go on YouTube and find it. From there, Chovy gets the kill anyway. He's able to wrap it up. His bot side may be good news for Jinair.
Well, it's Urgot versus 2, but the TP comes in. Casting off the tiny little screen right here.
Here it's big, yeah.
Here we go. Linderong, no ultimate to escape this time. And Sword is totally fine, thanks to the help of his friend, Chovy.
They're all super best friends in this game. Viper goes top lane, close to 2 items, working on the Black Cleaver to shred. Already has one from the Urgot. They don't double stack, but they do stack faster, obviously, if you're both autoing. So full stacks on the armor penetration going to be there. Chovy comes to mid lane. He's got some nice items. He's ahead of the curve. He's not going to make the same mistakes as Tarzan. He got his Dark Seal nice and early. The Rift Herald is very shallow because can't really tell you where the appropriate place to channel the Rift Herald is when you're this far behind.
I was thinking bot lane, but they would have preferred a kill, which is what they went for. So, did not end up being used there. He had to get rid of it as the timer was coming in. We were talking about Medai's in game number 1 for the Evelyn, seemed obvious, but now Dark Seal is getting charged up here for Chovy. Maybe he'll be the one to pick it up.
You guys are wondering about the increased amount of Warmogs in the game. Obviously always been one for Tarzan here. Sejuani was the interesting one where because of all the base stats increase, we worked out that level 12, if you have Warmogs and just the Cinderhulk, you do have the threshold hit to get that extra healing. 2750, I believe it is these days. Tarzan going to slowly take down the Ocean Drake and hope for a more exciting one. Third spawn, will it be an Infernal? It won't, but they'll take a Mountain Drake to give them some Baron speed as well.
Yeah, right now they have Lucian. That's about it. But yeah, Mountain Drake would be nice to help speed that out. We've seen that Griffin don't necessarily need the Baron in order to get super far ahead in the game.
I looked at my notes. It's still 3,000 on the Warmogs. But you do get there with Sejuani at level 12. I also look at my screen and see that it appears that, like we were kind of alluding to, as long as you buy Redemption, it's Scoochie from the side of CV Max. It's still a support.
Yeah, Redemption, pretty cool item.
Also, more burst if you hit both sides of your Ornn ultimate.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Think about that.
Yeah. What else would you build on Ornn? Can Redemption be upgraded?
I want to say yes.
Feels like
yes. I know that the Locket can. I'm not 100% clear on. I believe the answer is yes.
I mean, what other item would be upgraded for support, basically? You know?
I mean, what are support items when Ornn and Elisa supports?
Redemption.
Apparently. That's what we're learning.
Yes.
I don't know. I could see him with a Sunfire Cape on patch 9.2 when that's reduced in price.
Sunfire Cape meta coming back. We used to have that every game in the top side.
Can Jinair find a good news story? They still have good engage. The Cassiopeia has 2 items and actually has a lot of threat onto the entire team comp here. It's 4 beefy boys, and the Liandry's was done super early, so there's a lot of threat here from Grace. We actually had a game where I recommended Liandry's on your Cassiopeia, and this is a great reflection of the sort of time where Liandry's is better than something like Flat Magic Penetration. But not getting womboed down and actually being in range of damage is the bigger issue for the side of Grace. Making it about the Baron, again, the Baron just spawned, and they just don't have river control to do that. Red ward's down in terms of control wards from Griffin, so it almost feels like you have to counter-gank a turret dive if you're Jin Air. I know that sounds really low percentage, but sometimes that's what you have to do, Valdez.
Whatever it takes when you are in desperation mode, as again, it's, you know, only 21, 22 minutes into the game. There's 8,000 gold ahead. So Griffin flying high, feeling pretty good right now.
Walking up here. Here is the turret dive threat we were talking about. We're zooming out, trying to watch where everyone else is. Chovy is spotted on a ward, and seems like Tarzan isn't going for full-on ult under the enemy turret, elastic slingshot under the enemy turret plays. Does mean the gold lead, while it's ticking up, is not exploding upwards. And Jin Air, you know, they were blown out of the water in game number 1. So game time is not always the best metric. It's a ZAC jungle, so it was unlikely to be a super fast one. But game time does feel like we're going to get more of a game in game number 2.
A bit more. Maybe a longer one at that. Nova, force ults by himself. Not sure about the follow-up of the Call of Forge God, but how about the Cassiopeia? As you see, the Petrifying Gaze was a little bit too late on that one. Still not sure if it does work, but either way, it was too late. He goes down, the tower dive is there, and they get a couple of kills.
Cast time on the Cassiopeia ult's going to be faster, going to be slower than the cast time on the ZAC ult. So yes, he needed to be ahead of the play. He was not. And thus is taken down, and Griffin say, what about a Baron? And will Jin Air have any way to argue with them?
Well, Linderong's going to make a case for it. They still have their jungler, but now Malrong's going to hookshot out of this one. Stitch as well is going to try to rocket them away. And actually Sword missing on the backside, so unfortunately can't quite follow up on a Stitch. He's going to go down to his passive. Stitch playing around quite a bit. Nice escape from him. Looking good on the Tristana. But can they catch up to him? The tanks. Look at the 3 tanks just running after the poor Tristana. Oh no! The slow comes in. And Tristana is also dead.
The Yodel couldn't do it. Somewhere Lord is feeling very sad about that, as this game continues to be more on the fun side. Watching Viper roll through, and the reason why they go for this dive is apparently ZAC was okay with a full-on turret dive, and there you see, 0.25 seconds too late on that turret dive. Gets the knock up, Cassiopeia in the grave, her first involvement in the game in many single ways. Mid lane outer goes down, and Sword continues dunking on the bot side.
Yep, just Griffin things. This is kind of the way it's going to be here, guys, at the LCK. If you're just joining us now and you haven't heard about Griffin, first of all, where have you been past 6 or so months? And expect a lot of these games of Griffin versus the lower half of LCK to look exactly like this. The other question is, what other weird picks are Griffin going to play? I mean, we saw already Evelyn and Elise support, now Orange support showing himself twice. What will be new for the next time?
I'm not to know, Valdez. Griffin always does it their own way. And right now, they have supreme map control. They don't have the Baron. That was thwarted by Jin Air, but for the extended chase onto Stitch. Stitch goes down. Grace comes over to pick up a minion wave. And we just kind of wait. And maybe this has to be the LCK 2019 meta. You know, I think some people were not ready to have the same high expectations of Griffin that we saw from the players during the pre-match trash talk of their first match, from all the whispers of how good they're doing. But I feel like we're playing in Griffin's world, much like we used to play in SK Telecom's world. And SKT's probably the only team right now to put a thought to that, as we're playing in Tarzan's world too.
Nova has an ultimate, but let's bounce into the top corner of the hero's entrance. See you later, as Grace actually opens up the fight with the missed Petrifying Gaze. And Griffin continue to bully here, 26 minutes in. And so far, actually, looks like only the Dragon is on the board for Jin Air. Griffin so close to having a perfect game, but not quite.
SK Telecom's dream team had a dream game. No perfect games for Griffin this season, but a Baron, 10-0 storyline. Like you say, only an Ocean Drake. And that Ocean looks suspiciously like a tier under the name of JAG. Chovy backs away here. I would say Tarzan doesn't do this ideally. He actually ends up displacing too far.
So
if you watch the end of it, though, he doesn't actually get the damage on Malrang. Actually, Malrang flashes into it. Well, if you're Tarzan, sometimes it all comes together. On those particular cases, goodbye. He sets the enemy jungle. When it rains, it pours. It appears from Malrang. Yes, I am sticking with the tier thing.
Yes.
Now Observer's is BMing, going into 45-degree angles all the time.
Observer's getting bored. He's like, what new camera angles can we bring to LCK 2019? Oh, they even missed the cannon. Well, plane's still grounded here. But Griffin, they seem to be, what's the word? Like they don't want to be too mean. They're showing restraint. No, that's not the word.
Well, here's a word, unstoppable onslaught. In fact, it's two.
Okay, they're looking for Viper. Nice little flash, and there's that redemption coming in. Lahen's proving that he is a true support on the backside, and oh boy, Stitch nearly goes down. As here comes the rest of the tanks, especially Tarzan is only going to let's bounce straight into the entire team as the damage comes in and Jennair goes out of this one. Malrang, he just says, enough of it, the hell with it, I'm getting out of here. I do not want to die, and not die he will. As Griffin, it looks like he'll push in to win the game.
Mercifully, that may be the end, as the Redemption did 1520, I believe, healing and 428 damage. Griffin gonna end it at 28 minutes 20, and Malrang hopes that he could join Griffin. If he gets their Nexus, maybe he can get him invite to the Griffin lineup.
Please take me with you. GG 2-0, Griffin.